Hello, everybody, and welcome. Welcome back to the show. Welcome to the Attitude Era. Welcome to D Generation X. Are you ready? Because this is gonna be a show. We're gonna obviously it's gonna be a show, but this is gonna be a show where we cover D Generation X, their impact on the Attitude Era, and the most important question that we ask at the end of most shows. I think we've asked at the end of every show or near the end. Would it work today? And I've got an interesting answer for that as well. There's a couple of controversial things we're going to be talking about as well, because obviously D Generation X did not shy from controversy, nation of domination. Don't mention the war. You wouldn't get away with that today, let me tell you. Keith, the busiest man, the second busiest man on the upper tier. How are you, my friend? How was the Liverpool show? I watched yourself and Noel whopper analysts. You need to do that more often. Honestly, you do need to do it. How was your day today? Stressful? All right. How are you?
Well, I think that goes to you, my friend, as the second busiest on the show now with the amount of shorts you're forking out, my friend. So don't degrade yourself there, pal. My
Sorry.
my friend, yeah, Hulk muscles. No, my day was all right. Obviously watching the Liverpool game, wasn't really satisfied with it, but a draw is a draw at the end of the day. I'll take that. But I was looking forward to chatting with yourself now about this. One of my
Let's
favorite
get stuck
periods
in.
of the whole entire wrestling history, Generation X.
Well, actually, speaking of D-Generation X, before we went live there, Keith was saying that his next door neighbor knocked, and his next door neighbor knocked about GTA. There's been more Grand Theft Auto GTA leaks. Actually, back in 1997-ish, the original Grand Theft Auto got released on the PlayStation 1. And those of you who are born way after that, who only know GTA 5, 6, 7, even from Vice City onwards, it was an aerial view. It was a completely different game. It was
Mm-hmm.
hilarious. It was 18s. It was controversial. Did I have it? You're damn right I had it. And I used to love playing. I used to get all the stars, all the police after me. I'd do the cheats for the rocket launchers, and I'd be on the stairs just battering the police copters out of it, battering the police out of it, and all that. Anyway, this leads us into today. Keith, I'm going to open with a question, right? Again, this is about D Generation X and their impact, right? I want to open with this. Was D Generation X one of the most important groups in wrestling history? Or, in the words of Jim Cornette, were they just a bunch of egotistical pricks who literally contribute nothing but trouble to the wrestling business? That's what Jim Cornette and a few others like Jim Cornette think. What do you think? I mean, look, obviously, I might be asking a DX fan. We actually haven't discussed this. How I actually don't know how you feel about DX. You kind of hinted at the start, but do you think they were a couple of egotistical little pricks?
Look, I think as far as Jim Cornette goes, Jim Cornette is from an old school time where the territories meant something, wrestling meant something back in the day when it was 70s and 80s, when you were loyal and it was a true sport. Now, back then, 30 years ago, I think they're trying to break the envelope. They're trying to break the barriers down, do something different, which they needed to do, to be honest with you, because Shawn
Yeah.
came out and said it to Vince. He needed to do something different to give the show a bit of life, to get a bit of edgier, more feel to it. Wasn't happy with it. Vince didn't go along with it because, as you know, Vince back then was, set in his ways. I think they revolutionized and started the whole Attitude Era, to be honest with you. I think they're the ones that started the whole thing.
I'm glad you said it because I have an interesting theory that I read there a few weeks ago. And I think we're going to circle back to it on the last show. I read that Bret Hart started the Attitude Era. Let's not go into the screw job. We'll have Dave rolling his eyes again, others rolling their eyes
He
again,
doesn't
you
watch
rolling
either.
your eyes again. He's not watching. He's not watching. Look, my attitude on the Jim Cornette thing, two things can be right at the same time. Were they egotistical pricks? Probably. Did they change the business? Absolutely. Let's take some comments. Well, hey, get up out of
Hey,
that.
Mark.
Mark's in. I cannot wait. Tomorrow night, 9 o'clock, right here, upper tier. The Monday mashup is back. I'll be tuning in. So will we all. I cannot wait. One of the best parts of the football week. My dad bought the first GTA in Power City, still Oregon, but I had to hide it in a FIFA box because we mad. That's not the first. That's not the first time I've heard something like that. That is genuine. That is fantastic. I used to love playing that game. How are you, Sharon? Good to see you. Jim Cornette is a legend. I went through a phase where I didn't really like him, but like I said, two things can be right at the same time. They were egotistical pricks, likely, but at the same time, they're undeniably brilliant. Keith, because you're a Liverpool fan, I got 2 words for you. Oh, Liverpool, hard day at the office. What? Losers.
Here, Marky, at least we didn't lose the whole city, so,
Keith, United have an excuse. They hold up, and that's how they won it. That's it. They went whole.
That's terrible.
Kogan.
That's terrible, bro. That's fucking terrible. Let's go
on. Here. Let's get on with it, right? Well, we have to remember as well, D-Generation X existed alongside Steve Austin's rebellion, obviously, The Rock's arrogance and rise of The Rock, which we've covered all of this, Mankind's unpredictability, and the presentation of the overall WWF programming, which was changing. And what was interesting when I was looking back is WWF had very much had a sink or swim thing back then. And I think they should have it to this day. It was, right, lads, get out there and do it. And I did a short today, actually. I wonder what Triple H of the Attitude Era would say to Paul Levesque Triple H today. Let them run with the ball, sink or swim. Guess what? You don't pull your weight, hit the bricks, head to the little leagues there in AEW. I'm only messing. But
you're not messing. It is the little leagues. Fuck AEW. No. It's the little leagues.
How dare you? I will be at AEW next week. But the point is, it was sink or swim. And they were kind of like the punk. When I look back at DX, they were like the punk rock comedy section of the Attitude Era. And I thought, like, punk, when I think of punk rock, I think of Johnny Rotten. I think of all the bands that I don't listen to. Ozzy Osbourne and all that, right? All the people that I don't listen to. Point I'm trying to get at is they rose alongside of that. They were harsh waters to be in. They were hard waters to get over.
But if you remember, Brian,
they pushed the envelope.
I was going to say to push the envelope, but if you look at the sponsorships, nearly pulled out as well. Like they were doing some serious things with the channel. Like, who were they with at the time? Was it TNT or was it Spike or something?
So the point is, Skype. Skype was a communication.
Spike.
Glad you. Right, sorry. I have to fire up the Whistler 2000. A bit of a Shawn Michaels reference for you there. But that was the point. It doesn't matter who they were with. The network, they were pushing the envelope with the network. And the network were like, listen, we're going to pull advertisement for you. Vince apparently was going, I read it in this book right here behind me. Vince was going nuts. He was like, lads, I'm paraphrasing, of course. Lads, what are you doing? Holy Jesus. He's going to get me battered by the sponsors.
You're on the verge of it.
But they prevailed. They kept going, and eventually they could not be ignored. And I feel that's what's missing from today's product. So when I was looking back on that, it was a real reminder of the sink or swim kind of deal they had back then that they really need today. They need to push that envelope today. Now, look, we're not going to get into talking about today, but I just think it's fascinating to look back. And I wonder what Triple H would say to Paul Levesque today. What do you reckon?
I think it'd be a different person today. Obviously, he's a different person today because he has shareholders to deal with. He has TKO to deal with. I think if it was Triple H who was running it by himself and had a lot of more reign and more authority, I think he would let a lot of the wrestlers be more loose.
100%. Mark, that XWF, I have that DVD. I actually bought it in Wrestling Mania. Niall had a copy of the XWF. I remember now. I bought it in Wrestling Mania, and XWF was a different ball game altogether. It's pretty cool. All right.
Oh, look who it is.
He's watching the show. Hey, get the moe out. I'm only messing. Hope you both had a good Sunday, Dave. It was an okay Sunday. Do you know what I did today, Keith? I lit up the fire outside. I burned some marshmallows. But before that, I dug horse shit into a barrel and I put down some fertilizer for some grass in the future. That was my day. So did I have a nice day? Not sure it was spectacular, Dave, but the marshmallows were nice. Smash the likes, peeps. Thanks, Niall. Niall, good to see you again. Yourself and Keith pulling a blinder. Can't wait for the Monday mashup tomorrow, 9 o'clock. Keith, like a soldier, pulling double duty. Keith's always pulling double duty, and that's what I love about Keith. Absolutely phenomenal.
I enjoy that little thing, by the way, but
Come here, the original D-Generation X, right?
Mm-hmm.
When people think of DX, right, and this is a question I'll get to in a few minutes, but when people think of DX, they don't often think of Rick Rude, as in he's never really in the conversation as often as he should be, because the original DX was Shawn Michaels and Triple H, but pretty soon after it, we had Rick Rude and we had China. And they officially became D-Generation X on the 3rd of October 1997. If you remember Sergeant Slaughter, you're a bunch of degenerates. They're like, well, if that's what you think we are, that's exactly what we'll be. Suck it. You know what I mean? And it was hilarious. Like, I remember watching that as a teenager. You were going into school and you were like, you were giving it all that and stuff like that. Like, didn't have to add the sound effects there. But yeah, it was a different time, man, and it was phenomenal. What those guys were doing and how they absolutely they tore into Sergeant Slaughter. Remember with the big chin? They go
the big
they
chin,
go
but they
up
also had the helmet as well, and I think they had the little wipers
for when he was spitting. And that's not all. They had the barbecue. Shawn Michaels came down as your boy, The Undertaker. He had me hook, line, and sinker, by the way. I remember watching that going, yes, Undertaker. What? Oh my God, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. That was unbelievable. It was phenomenal. And I remember looking at it going, it's next level. And one of the questions that we're going to ask towards the end of the show is DX or the NWO? When I put out promotional material for the show, the NWO logo was there because I think without the NWO, you don't have DX. You don't. I think D-Generation X, as much as Shawn Michaels pushed for it, they were a response to the NWO. Undoubtedly. And let's face it, like we always say, the Attitude Era was about timing. D-Generation X could not have existed 5 years previous to that.
But if you look at it as well, Brent, everything that the Attitude Era and the WF did was perfect timing. Everything that they did, including the DX, including Stone Cold, including everything was perfect timing for them because everything got over with these guys so much compared to like would it happen today? I don't think so. Like we'll be talking about that probably in a bit more depth in the show. But everything was just more perfect for them. Everything was perfect timing. We'll be talking about the army bus as well. And so the truck thing as well. We'll be talking about that. Oh, that was perfect timing. I just think everything that they did was great. You know, I was captivating. I was much watch TV every single week. Like you had to tune in.
Phenomenal. And that's a reoccurring theme in the show. We're always saying that it was much watched television. And just on this, Keith, you like this. Sharon was at Blanchfest today. That's where I was yesterday, right? They have this little circus there, right? And I've been to 2 circuses in the last year. Both circuses, including the one yesterday, I got dragged in the middle of the ring. And the clown made a holy bleeding show of me. Now, look, I know I do a good enough job making a show of myself. Keith, he made me do a cartwheel in front of everybody. Cartwheel? I couldn't do a cartwheel. Yes, I didn't record it. One of my best friend's nephew was there. He recorded the whole thing. I literally think I cracked my hip.
You need to put that up short. You need to put that up short. Oh, I'm telling you.
Nobody wants to see Bren do a cartwheel and nearly break his hip.
Please tell me you tried to do a little Brennan Rooney, did you?
Come here and I tell you. I think my hip is cracked, firstly. And then I had a boxing match with a clown, which, although it was predetermined, I managed to fucking lose. Do you know what I mean? And then the clown wrapped his legs around me at the end. It was an experience, Keith. That's two clowns. I'm 2 for 2 now with clowns. But Blanchfest, it was a great day. That's where I seen the wrestling socks. Great suggestion, Mark. Do a show on XWF. Remember the big English bodybuilder lad that was in it? Rowdy staring at stables. Do you know what, Mark? That's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to do an XWF watch along. And I know where everybody's thinking, oh, my Jesus, Brent's doing another bleeding show. Oh, stop it. We should do an XWF show because it was pretty good. Pretty good. How's your ring now, Brent? Oh, my Mark.
In a jocker.
My ego, my hips. And you're damn right. They don't lie, but they're bruised. And I'm in a jocker. We need to see much more. We need to see see that, Bren. Do you know what, Sharon? I might share it on the channel. I actually genuinely have the videos there. I might share it on the channel. Now, D-Generation X, Shawn Michaels is DX, and the 1998 DX were two very different D-Generation X, D-Generation X's. The Shawn Michaels DX was vile. It was nasty. It was kind of like in your face, a big kind of like, a lot of dick jokes, we'll say. And he was still kind of the center of the group, as we know. But if you look at the 1998 D-Generation X, when Shawn Michaels went out at WrestleMania 14, because D-Generation X happened after the Montreal screw job, which again, it's gonna be a recurring theme all the way through the shows, by the way, because that's where it kind of started. We have a new D-Generation X after Shawn Michaels goes out after WrestleMania 14. Mike Tyson. This is where X-Pac comes out, and Triple H reinvented DX. He reinvented D-Generation X. And a lot of people look back at that D-Generation X and see it as the best.
Well, here's a question for you, Bren. Here's a question for you. I know you loved Shawn Michaels and China and Triple H, but what did you make of this turn of events with the likes of X-Pac joining, and then obviously down the road, New Age Outlaws joining? Were you happy with this, with the outcome of it, or at the time were you a bit annoyed because of the way the world's going?
No, not at all. And like what Mark said there, big fan, not a big fan of Shawn Michaels, and he preferred the second version of D-Generation X. Look, I think the second version of D-Generation X was so much better because they didn't have Shawn Michaels to bounce off of. And in fact, right, my friend, unrelated, he didn't know this show was coming up. A couple of weeks ago, he texted me randomly. He had no idea the show was coming up. He watches sometimes, but he didn't know it was coming up. And he says, I have the text message here. That's why I'm looking at the phone. And he said, want to see if we're on the same wavelength. Is DX to you Shawn and Hunter, or is it Hunter, China, Outlaws, and X-Pac, right? So I thought that was an interesting question. Now, I love the second version of DX. However, when I think of DX, like I think of Shawn Michaels and Hunter. I don't think of the other lads. My head goes to Shawn Michaels and Hunter. But if I turned around to you and said, D-Generation X, what comes into your head? Don't say suck it.
Suck it. I don't know, because I love the boat, you see, and it's hard.
No, but what variation comes into your head? Like when you think of DX, do you go automatically Shawn and Hunter? Because Aaron, my friend Aaron was like, listen, I completely disagree, because I said Shawn and Hunter. I said I disagree with you completely.
I think Shawn Michaels and Triple H, obviously they started the whole DX, but I don't think they got the full potential out of DX when they first started. I think they were on the cusp of doing something great. But then I felt after that, with the Shawn Michaels situation, that he, with his back injury, he had to take a good few years off. I felt the start of it all for me was DX, when the X-Pac and the New Age Outlaws came into it, along with China. I think she was involved in it for the time being. I felt that was more of a better DX all around, if you get what I mean. I just felt that they were at the cusp at that time, but they never really got the potential to show a lot more because of what happened to Shawn and his drug issues.
Well, my reasoning for going to Triple H and DX, because that's what it became then in the 2000s. Now, look, we're not going to talk about that because that's not the Attitude Era. Sharon, I do want to hear about that, so I will chat to you about that. Aina, good to have you on board, man. Good to see you. And Rick Rude. So, Mark, it's interesting, right? We talked about Rick Rude earlier on, right? Now, Rick Rude couldn't wrestle at the time because of a Lloyd's of London claim, right? Back then, wrestlers had got insane insurance policies, and a lot of them took a payout where they couldn't wrestle.
Wasn't he injured as well? Didn't he have a lot of injuries?
No, yeah, he did, but that's why he got paid out. But my thinking is, right, if Rick Rude could wrestle, D-Generation X is a different thing altogether. And I wonder, does he continue? Because eventually, the reason Rick Rude left WWF at the time and went to WCW is because he couldn't wrestle, and they wouldn't pay back his insurance. I believe Bischoff did eventually. But it's interesting to think, like Rick Rude, again, an original part of D-Generation X, it's interesting to think what would have happened if he could have wrestled.
I think, look, he was a fantastic wrestler, Rick Rude. He was one of a million. You know, but it shouldn't be going into detail about her look.
Yeah, it's screw job. I love it. Fantastic. But what do you think? I mean, like, do you think if Rick Rude could wrestle, does it change things? I think obviously it does.
I think it does. Yeah, I think because Rick Rude was brilliant back in his day, Bren. You know, I never really got to see him back in his highlight of his heyday, but yeah, from what I did see of him, he's fantastic. He was fantastic. Obviously, he's not with us anymore, but
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like I have a Rick Rude t-shirt in there. It's one of my favorite t-shirts. I love it. Him getting Jake Roberts' wife spray painted onto his the front of his bottoms.
yeah.
Incredible. Now the original DX, if we remember, they were all about being teenager, kind of rebellious. We're gonna piss you off. But the reason why Triple H's DX succeeded, in my opinion, now eventually it fizzles out, and we'll get to that, is because it became less about pissing people off and more about we're actually just going to take over. You know, we're not like we're not. It's a dangerous statement to make, but we're not here to take part. We're here to take over. I forget who said that. Some Irish MMA fighter. But like
clown.
Well, be careful. Be careful. Well, look, when you think of the new version of D-Generation X, one of the first things that the thumbnail to this is the tank. The WCW invasion, the famous tank footage that WWF and WWE played over and over again. Now, we were there, man. We were there, man. We seen it at the time. And we were like, and again, what people have to remember is the Attitude Era, zero access to the internet. Well, you did, but it would take about a week to load up. But like, I didn't have the internet or anything like that. And like to see, I was like, oh my God, they're outside the Nitro. Oh my Jesus.
Don't forget, they were outside New York as well, and they were going to all like little food courts. Remember the Indian food courts Triple H went to, and he used to do like the Indian voice and all this, like all the racist slurs that he would do. Like, you wouldn't get away with that today, like, you know what I mean? Like, but it was great. It was captivating TV. It's like, I actually thought at the time when I was watching the brand, I was like, oh my God, are they actually going to get into WCW's fucking building? And at the point, I think, who was it? I can't remember the whole story again. It was a Bischoff that said that he didn't want them in the building.
So was it I'm glad you brought it up. So Bischoff was like, bring down the shutters, get those shutters down right now.
Yeah, that was
Scott Hall was Scott Hall that said, let them in. Let them in. What are they going to do? And imagine they let them in. D-Generation X would have looked stupid. History would have changed. If D-Generation X, imagine, right? If D-Generation X had been allowed into that building, what would they have done? Suck it. Well, guess what? You're on Nitro now. Nitro's live on the Ted Turner network, and now everybody's switching to Nitro to see what the X are doing. I mean, it was a great idea, but it was calculated.
But back then, Bren, Nitro was live, but the WWE was not live. Well, WWF was not live back then. It was pre-taped. So they used to give away the actual results WCW did. And they used to put it onto their show and say it to them. It was like, this is what happened. Don't tune into it. Until eventually they had to do something about that. But
100%. And remember what the lads were saying. Give us back Kevin. Get up out of that. Give us back Scott. Get up. Yeah, we want the bad guy. We want Big Daddy Cool. Let them out. Let them out to play. And it was deadly. It was deadly. I loved it. Absolutely adored it. And it was such a joy to watch at the time. That is phenomenal, Sharon. Go on, sorry. I recently saw a Shawn Michaels in the WrestleMania shop. There's a few Shawn Michaelses there. There is. I think there's actually an old school Rockers Shawn Michaels there, ain't it? And you should probably pick it up because it'll be good. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The Hasbro figure. But imagine, like it blurred the lines, Keith. The whole tank going towards WC, it completely blurred the lines. It was probably, undoubtedly, it was one of my favorite moments in the Attitude Era to see them come in. And you didn't know what was going to happen. And inevitably, if Eric Bischoff had said, let them in, let's see what they
changed the whole landscape of the.
It would have. Yeah. I think if Eric Bischoff let them in, we're probably talking about the WCW Attitude Era today. Maybe. It's a bit of a hefty one, but again, it was one of my.
When you look at it now, Bren, like when you look at back then, right, compared to now, it's a difference. The difference, isn't it? Like, you know, obviously it's the change of the times from 30 years ago. There are a lot of things which were different back then, but when you look at it, Brent, Raw was so captivating each and every week. You had to tune in to watch Raw and to see what, because they always left you on a cliffhanger. Where you look at today's, man, like they don't leave you on a cliffhanger. They leave you they give away what's going to happen next week. And we don't want that. We want to have suspense and want to be in disbelief of what we're watching. We don't really get that anymore.
But that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying at the start. It should be sink or swim. But it was genuinely, because even the tank, it completely changed the direction. And then we go on to the bus later on. The bus made it into the game.
The DX bus,
the DX bus made it into the SmackDown versus Raw game. It was all incredible. And thanks very much. You can actually buy both books, I believe, in your local bookshop. Not in your local bookshop. You'll certainly get them online. They're very, very interesting read. How is Billy Gunn getting younger every time I see him? That fella,
he's 62 or 3 now.
He's 62. He's 63. Because that guy, oh my Jesus, incredible. Didn't we buy the tank back off a collector? Yeah, I thought they did. Bischoff should have let them in. 100%, Mark. Not only would have increased the viewing figures, but it would have completely and utterly. I think it would have changed the landscape completely. Now, Keith, a few minutes ago, go on, finish that. What were you gonna say?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, it's a shame when we're looking at it today, Bren. 30 years ago, how excited we were about the WWE and WCW. And looking at it now, where we have AEW, who's probably the closest competitor to WWE in some sense, you know what I mean? Wouldn't you love to see it as it just? I'm not asking for AEW to be banned or for like WCW, but you want some competitorship in the fucking wrestling business. You want something to be looking forward to and to have competition. I just really want AEW to fucking succeed and get some fucking competition for WWE so we can have some captivating TV to watch. I really do. But I don't know if that will ever happen. That's my issue.
I think Tony Khan has a great opportunity at the moment, but I don't think he's taking full advantage of the opportunity he has, because WWE are dropping the ball like at every corner. But then so is AEW, because although you might not believe it, but I actually pay a lot of attention to AEW. I have to, because I'm the AEW guy in the channel. No, but to be fair, AEW are doing a lot of good stuff as well. But I think we've become very institutionalized by the WWE, and we've become conditioned in a certain way, and our expectations at this stage are too high of WWE. I did a short today on the channel. Why would any wrestler go to WWE at the moment? Why would they? What's the point? Ricky Saints, Rusev, Blake Monroe. You should have just stayed in AEW. Do you know what I mean? Honestly, you would have probably had more of an opportunity. Maybe Tony would have seen use for you. But look, like I say, I totally agree with you. Tony Khan has a big opportunity, but you know what? He keeps fumbling it as well. Because unfortunately, when you're running a wrestling company, you can't just put your favorite style of wrestling on all of the time. You can't let the inmates run the asylum. Give them all of the freedom, but don't let them run the asylum.
Which
AEW fail. AEW, one of their biggest failing points is after Cody left, you had Hangman Page and you had the Young Bucks, right? And you had Kenny Omega. The Young Bucks, although one of the greatest tag teams of all time, they shouldn't be anywhere near running a company. They shouldn't be. I said it last week on the SmackDown show. I'll say it today on the Attitude Èire show. They made arseholes of themselves with that CM Punk situation, and they haven't fully recovered from it. Are they on their way to recovering? Yeah. But like AEW should be taking more of an opportunity. Anyway, back to D-Generation X, because you brought up some controversy a few minutes ago, and nothing about DX was more controversial than when D-Generation X dressed up as the Nation of Domination. DX versus the Nation. You had The Rock, D'Lo Brown, Mark Henry, Owen Hart, Kama, versus Triple H, X-Pac, Road Dogg, Billy Gunn, and China. And when DX imitated the Nation, like if they did that today, they'd be ripped off television, right? And to be honest with you, I'll be honest, and this might be controversial in itself, I wasn't mad about the segments.
I thought they were funny. I thought some aspects were funny. to be honest with you. Do you know, from looking back on it, yeah, you wouldn't get away with it today. That's the thing. Like, but in saying that though, every guy that did it was brilliant at it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they were brilliant at it.
Look, it was a segment that WWE don't talk about too much today, but it was
But it
certainly
can.
a segment
Yeah.
that brought eyes to the product. It was controversial, and like Eric Bischoff, the title of his book, "Controversy Creates Cash." By the way, Acers, I cannot wait till Johnny G leaves the WWE and actually does something good. Maybe TNA ain't it, I don't know, but somebody needs to step up for sure. But they're in the grips of the WWE. But I remember watching this thinking the best part of that was the Owen Hart impersonator.
I am not a nugget.
Yeah, the guy doing Owen Hart, I understand. If I'm not mistaken, I do believe that guy has passed since.
Has
but
he?
he had done. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Or like, but he had done Owen Hart impressions before. He did Roddy Piper impressions, and he was really good at it. But I thought the best part of it was the Owen Hart impression. He was so good. But it was at that time, Keith, DX. They started to become the good guys. You know what I mean? They were like
people loved them.
I know fans that started to cheer them, but this is when they became untouchable. This is when people started to love, like you said, love D-Generation X. On paper, DX were horrible people. They were bullies. Come here. If you knew a group of people that acted like DX in school and you didn't know about DX in wrestling or any kind of world like that, you'd be looking at that going, bunch of pricks. I want nothing to do with them. A lot of arseholes, but they were immature. They were crude. Same
thing about the Click. You could say the same thing about the Click.
But the thing about it is, Keith, the Generation X, they were rebellious. They represented freedom. You had the Steve Austin saying, "Me boss is a wanker. Fuck me boss. He's a big prick." I'm paraphrasing, of course.
Do you know as well,
DX was like, "I don't care what anybody thinks," and it was just something deadly about it at the time.
But you know what you're missing as well, Brendan? You're looking at it. How big of a personality DX was. Do you know, when you look at today, the stables today, where we have the Vision, they're not a big personality. They don't come off as a big personality. When it was Triple H, China, we'll say HBK, all right, and then the other ones down the line, X-Pac and all that, they all had big personalities that shined out on the TV. You look at it today, and you don't get that. You don't get those big personalities anymore.
But you could argue that's the overall problem with WWE. There's not enough big personalities. There's a few big personalities, and that's why there's a show about the Attitude Era. If in 20 years' time we do a show about modern day WWE today, it'll be more kind of like that was a bit of a joke, wasn't it? That was ridiculous, wasn't it?
You will be looking back on it, yeah, but you still be talking about the Attitude Era 20, 30 years down the line.
We will. The Attitude Era again, because if it wasn't for the Attitude Era, we'd be talking about WCW today. Or maybe wrestling would have fizzled out completely. Maybe pro wrestling, or like me, like a sucker, probably be still watching today, and I'd be doing a little podcast in the corner of my own. How's it going? Welcome to my wrestling podcast. I want to talk about what Kevin Nash is still champion. This is deadly. I know he has sore hips, but he's still a champion. I have sore hips too. I got battered by a clown yesterday. All that stuff, right? I don't know why I said any of that. I don't know why I went into that rant. But look, Triple H himself explained that, and he's dead right. His analyst is spot on. They pushed boundaries at the time, like everybody else was, but they did it in a way that fitted perfectly. And you talked about big personalities, Keith. You talked about it there a few minutes ago. One of the biggest personalities in that group, one of the best parts of that group, and one of the founding members, the foundation of that group is China.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't just change. She just wasn't a big part of D-Generation X. She fundamentally changed how women wrestling was seen overall. She was physically incredible. She was presented as a powerhouse, and she looked like she belonged in D-Generation X. She was perfect. And to me, China is not talked about enough when it comes to D-Generation X.
She's the groundbreaker. She's the originator. She's the groundbreaker for women. We talk about women today like Charlotte, Becky, and all that, saying that they're originators. Sunny. Well, yeah, Sunny. Yeah, we'll go with Sunny. But I think she is the number one originator. She's the first ever IC champion. She's the first ever woman to be in the King of the Ring. She's the first ever woman to be a part of the Royal Rumble. She's the first ever one to do it all. And she's the first
Yeah.
ever woman to wrestle men. And it amazes me to this day, Brent. She is not in the Hall of Fame properly as a singles competitor.
Well, I'm not about to argue. I'm not about to argue with you this week about who's not in the Hall of Fame and who isn't in the Hall of Fame. However, I totally agree with you. Chyna should be in the Hall of Fame front and center. Now, obviously, Paul Levesque, Triple H, is married to Stephanie. That kind of like his ex-wife or his ex-missus is Chyna. I'm not sure if they were married, but she should be. She is definitely the foundation of the women that we have today. Not the divas crap that we had to sit through later on in the 2000s. And by the way, women's wrestling, when they got the time, was good in the 90s, in the early 90s anyway. I just want to point that out. It was good in the early 90s decent. Anyway. Alundra Blaze, etc. But Chyna deserves so much more credit. She deserves to be front and center in Hall of Fame. She's absolutely phenomenal. And I do think Chyna deserves...
She's a pioneer.
100%, and that is the best way to put it. So we didn't want to do the D-Generation X show without giving Chyna her credit and what she deserves, because she is often criminally overlooked by the WWE, and it's not good. She deserves better. Something a little lighter, funniest things DX did from the start of 97 with the Undertaker barbecue on Raw after the Royal Rumble 98 and the Bret Hart midget after Survivor Series.
Oh, yeah.
That was brilliant, though. D-Generation X, they brought the comedy. They were absolutely hilarious. They were. And
don't forget, DX had their own DX show for, what was it, In Your House?
Thanks, oh, they did. They had In Your House D-Generation X. I have it on DVD. I have all the DX DVDs. I was a DX guy. I had the original DX shirt. It's in my mom's house. I was meant to bust it out for the show, and I forgot to pick it up. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I was a massive DX guy. Loved D-Generation X back in the day, and we are going to get to who was better, D-Generation X or NWO, in a few minutes. But we do need to talk about the decline of D-Generation X, because they were hilarious. They were revolutionary. They were phenomenal. They had Chyna. Chyna was a powerhouse in herself. So we'll talk about the decline. A couple more comments. Sharon, thanks a million. Are you talking about the I did a short earlier on?
Cody Rhodes one.
Yeah, I wore a Cody Rhodes, and it's me, Cody Rhodes, and Brandy on the t-shirt. And I literally grabbed it, put it on to do the short. So I'm glad you liked it. Appreciate that. She's called the Night Wonder of the World, and she absolutely should be in the Hall of Fame. How are you, lads? Not at all, Anto.
Could you imagine Chyna? All right, could you imagine Chyna in today's wrestling with the women's wrestlers that we have today? Could you imagine? I think she came at the wrong time. I really do think she came at the wrong time.
But however, she would be misused by the WWE, because Chyna could go. Chyna could wrestle. You know what I mean? What they do is they'd have her put over Jade Cargill. That's what they do. They say, Chyna, you're old news. You'd have to put over Chyna. I think she would be phenomenal today, and I think she deserves a spot. And look, on the 6th of September, in 2 weeks' time, we're going to be talking about the women of the Attitude Era. So this isn't the first time in this series Chyna will be brought up. She will be heard. She will be heard. She will be featured heavily in the next show, and which is the 6th of September. We'll get to that at the end. We're having an international break next week. But yeah, Chyna again. She just, in today's world, she would absolutely smash it. So let's bring the question forward. Would Chyna work in today's world? Absolutely. Would she have worked in the 80s? You're damn right. 90s. Chyna is undoubtedly one of the greatest women wrestlers of all time. Quick question, Keith. Do you ever wear t-shirts or just white t-shirts? Bren has a t-shirt. Let you answer that, Keith.
I do have other t-shirts. I do have other ones, to be honest with you. I just love wearing white.
Stuff. I know you do. Look, Aina, we've seen Keith wear other t-shirts, and but he does get a bit of a slagging every now and again from the other members, most of who probably aren't watching. Cody and Brandy, yes, that's the one. If it was today, Chyna would be batter most of the women's division. And rightfully so, Anto. Rightfully so. Chyna could work with the men, no problem. And that's it, Sharon. And that's why she's one of the greatest of all time. Now, as funny as DX were, as revolutionary as they were, some of the best moments, the DX Express, You talk about the Tank. You talk about bringing the little people on. You
talk
talk about
can we talk about when Stone Cold destroyed the DX bus? What did you make of the DX bus?
I thought the DX bus was created to get destroyed. Eventually,
did you think that?
I mean?
Did you really?
Yeah, of course. Steve Austin was obviously going to get there eventually.
I thought it was deadly. I really see. This is the problem, Brent. This is what Netflix don't have. They need to have all these old episodes where you can roll back and see these episodes.
First of all, I loved that moment, right? But I also loved playing SmackDown. I think it was WWF Attitude.
SmackDown 2 it was, I think it was.
It was SmackDown Know Your Role or else SmackDown 1.
Yeah.
You'd be playing it, and then all of a sudden, the DX bus getting squashed on it. And back then, you're looking at the game going, this is real life. This is incredible. This is one of the best games I've ever seen. I can't believe the DX Express is getting blown up on my PlayStation right here, right now. Absolutely phenomenal. It was brilliant. And that's why, again, you talk about a group that has iconic moments everywhere from the Formation to Sergeant Slaughter to the DX Express to the Tank, all of that stuff.
But that didn't last too long, did it? The DX bus didn't really last too long, did it, from what I remember?
No, it didn't. And that's why I think it was created to inevitably have Stone Cold blow it up. Do you know what I mean?
Because I remember The Rock getting thrown underneath the DX bus. I think he got like was a 2x4. Oh no, was it? No, sorry, no. It was Big Show. It was Big Show that got hit by a 2x4, and The Rock came up from behind him at the end of SmackDown, and he hits him with a 2x4, and he goes into the DX bus or something like that.
Now, to be honest, I'll have to take your word for it, Keith, because my researcher is not as good as your researcher. Because I forgot about that. Either way,
I remember.
Either way, it was absolutely phenomenal. I can't wear white, says Sharon, because the reason I can't wear white is she gets food all over it. I too would get food all over it. That's why I mostly wear black. China title belt was Whopper. Leanne has it. That's it. Leanne has the China title belt. And then what else do we have? The vault is missing years. It is. So yeah, look, let's get on to the decline of D-Generation X, because what goes up inevitably has to come down. Right? Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what happened to D-Generation X. It went too long. They went to the well too many times, and they took some directions. However, Triple H needed, like DX, it became a brand. It became a victim of its own success. And Triple H.
Do you know what's sorry, Brent, for interrupting? Do you know what's funny when I look back on that? When Triple H was this is at the end of the DX run, right? When he was with the likes of X-Pac and the New Age Outlaws. I look back on that now, what I look at it now, where it's with the Vision, where Braun Breaker needs to get the hell out away from the Vision, Bone being the main event scene. That's how I felt when I watched Triple H back down in '99. I think it was when he left DX. And then obviously they stuck around. I think they just didn't have any plans for the rest of the guys. That's why they stuck them around with each other and kept them going for a while.
Yeah, 100%. Triple H was the center of the group, and he was going to be the future. And if WWF didn't make sure of it, Paul Levesque, Triple H was going to make sure of it.
Yeah, he was
seen as a politician. Yeah. They're already gone in. D-Generation X are already gone into the Hall of Fame.
Outlaws aren't, unfortunately.
Oh, DX and the Outlaws. But they are in as part of DX. Remember, Triple H said, "Be careful, or else we'll buy that pissant company that he was part of." Tony Khan actually let Tony Khan actually let Billy Gunn go to the Hall of Fame, which is really, really super of Tony Khan, because I don't think they'd allow it other way around. And basically, when they were up on the stage, they made a joke about being all in, and Triple H said, "Be careful, the old man will buy that pissant company AEW." They're already in now. The Outlaws should go in separately, 1,000,000,000%.
One of the greatest tag teams of all time.
100%. The dumpster match comes to mind. Absolutely incredible. So they absolutely well, put it to you like this: it's a travesty that the Dudleys are in the Hall of Fame and the New Age Outlaws aren't.
Would you stop, Ren?
They
deserve to be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, well, then you might as well put, in that case, Keith, you might as well put a table in the Hall of Fame.
You need to put your hatred away from Bubba Ray for just the time being, because he is part of one of the greatest tag teams of all time. And I can get people in this comment section to agree with me on that.
Look, it's another discussion for another day because
I'm telling you, Bren. I'm telling you. We will be talking about the tag team division, though, on this show in a few weeks.
We will be talking about the tag team division.
We'll have a discussion then about it.
But the Outlaws are already in. They're not in on their own, Sharon. They're in with the as
But you know what you don't see as well, Glenn, anymore? You don't see funny catchphrases that much anymore, do you? Like, ones that stick out to you. Like, you there's loads that you see in the Attitude Era that stuck out to you compared to now.
Well, there's a couple of brilliant ones. The one that comes to mind is, "So, Keith, what do you want to talk about?" The greatest. He's making his way to the greatest of all time, Cody Bloody Rhodes. And by the way, those rumors circulating that Cody Rhodes is going to have Paul Heyman as an advocate on SmackDown. I'm not saying it's true.
Thank you.
Well, you don't get a say in it. And if they do,
listen. You know, no one cares.
You know what's going. But Keith, you know what's going to happen. You know, I said it before, and I'll say it again. Everybody that has this Cody hate are going to be kissing Cody's ass in the next year. Mark my words. Soundbite this. The upper tier
violin.
There's no violins playing. There's nothing sad about it, lads. I thought WWE's problem. I sent on WhatsApp, Bren. You can forward it to Keith to see what he thinks. Yeah, I 100% will. I'll go back up to the message, Anto. Keith, don't put your Cody out. Don't put your Cody hate away. So, Bren, continue. I appreciate that, Sharon. Keith, shut up. But come here. No, all messing aside, you're dead. Like that's what I was talking about earlier on. There's not enough superstars. There's not enough personalities. You said it earlier on. You were spot on the money. And let's face it, right? You talk Cody, you talk Seth Rollins, you talk Roman Reigns, CM Punk. And Noel said it a couple of weeks ago on Pro Wrestling Weekly. The main events is that kind of variation. Everybody else is basically a lot of them sound like they're reading from a script and they're not getting the opportunity. Now, that's not their fault. That's WWE's fault. And that's why it should be sink or swim.
And why do you think the likes of Road Dogg was so great on the mic? Obviously, Billy Gunn wasn't the best, but why do you think? Because he had no script. He played off at the top of his head. He said everything to a T, what he felt. Do you know? And it's but you don't get it today.
But that's what I was saying at the start of the show. When I was looking back at D-Generation X, the freedom, they were given freedom with consequences. Because I know I said about AEW where they're on having
sink or swim.
Yeah. It was sink or swim, and it was consequences as well. If you weren't hitting the mark, it wasn't like, pat on the back, you're one of my favorite wrestlers. What seems to happen in AEW was, you're not hitting the mark. If you don't pull up your pants, you're in trouble.
Here's a question for you now, Bren. Maybe we could discuss this maybe on the PWW this week, if we can, right? Would the current crop of talent today, now this is our whole, would they have survived, or would have they dealt with the pressure back in the Attitude Era? Or if a lot of them have sink or swam, or have they just
I'm not just saying this, right? And we will talk about it at a later stage, and we'll end this one on this, and you're not going to like it, but Cody would. 100%. Come here, right?
He wouldn't be a main eventer fucking in the Attitude Era, and tell you that for
I think he would be.
I don't think he would.
I do. I think he would be. Anyway, look. Triple H eventually turned on D-Generation X. This is when he eventually turned on X-Pac, and then it was really hokey how they got back together. And I think kind of 1999, 2000 is where D-Generation X lost its way, because eventually you Triple H, X-Pac, New Age Outlaws, as well as the McMahon-Helmsley kind of deal going on. And that didn't suit D-Generation X.
What do you make of that, Brand? The McMahon-Helmsley era?
Well, remember, DX was about rebellion. It was about it was kind of like an arm of the Stone Cold Steve Austin rebellion, FU and all that, and then they became the establishment.
Yeah,
and that's not what so in a way, D-Generation X lost its identity, and it became the establishment. When DX got back together years later, Shawn and Hunter were hilarious. A lot of people think that kind of ruined the legacy. I didn't. I thought it extended it, but
it was nostalgia.
100%. But it was an irony about the McMahon Helmsley joining D-Generation X, and to me, that was the bullet in the back of the head of the machine that was D-Generation X, and they were a gunner. They were a gunner from there on in. as far as I was concerned.
Nearly that Mike was a gunner.
Nearly that Mike was a goner. Listen, this show ain't perfect. It ain't without mistakes. But that's the McMahon Helmsley era. And Aces, you're dead right. The Slaughter DX segments, we touched on it earlier on. Absolutely phenomenal. And just DX back then. But what it grew into in 1999-2000 with the McMahon Helmsley era, it just became everything it was previously against, and therefore lost its identity. There was an irony about it. And I wasn't mad about it. And that's what I think kind of killed D-Generation X. What says you?
Yeah, I'd agree. I just feel like we never saw the full potential between Shawn and Triple H back in their prime as the co-DX members, to be honest with you. We're only scraping the surface, like I said. And it's a real shame over Shawn's injury and drug use that they couldn't really go ahead with any with the DX stuff anymore. But I really do think we would have gotten a hell of a lot more out of DX during 1998 with Shawn Michaels and Triple H as well. But the thing about it is as well, Brent, turn it around, would we have the likes of X-Pac still in DX, or we have the likes of the Outlaws in the DX, and would the guys still be in the WWF, or would it have gone cut?
Exactly. So it's kind of like what's happening today. Rhea Ripley's injured. Chelsea Green has an amazing opportunity. And unfortunately, that is the story with wrestling. Often it takes an injury, somebody to get injured, to be moved out, and then basically the spotlight to be shone. So, no pun intended. If Shawn Michaels doesn't get injured, X-Pac probably doesn't sign. New Age Outlaws don't get a look in, and it remains Triple H, China, and Shawn. And who knows what happens from there on in. It's too unpredictable. Would it have worked? I think it would have worked. Absolutely. Look, what Shawn Michaels is a magic man. He's a magic man. I love Shawn Michaels. I won't take any heat towards Shawn Michaels. And I'm also a Bret Hart guy, by the way. The two things can be true. Bret Hart, one of the greatest of all time. But I do think if Shawn Michaels doesn't get injured, we don't get X-Pac. We don't get the New Age Outlaws. But that's why, unfortunately, his injury paved the way for an amazing time with DX. We probably wouldn't have had the Tank Invasion. Probably.
That's another one. Yeah.
We
wouldn't have the Nation Domination.
The Nation of Domination thing, which, you know, which kind of was what it was. But, which reminds me, right? Let's get to the last question, right? The last question is this. Would D-Generation X work today?
Yes and no. I think yes, because we're not really in the PG era that much. In a sense, we're kind of we are and we aren't. We're kind of like pushing the envelope, because if you hear it, a lot of times we say prick and all that on the thing, on the current products. I do think they could work today, but I don't think we'll get the full potential of DX compared to what we did back 30 years ago.
Well, I mean, like D-Generation X at its core rebels against authority. They break modern day kind of like conventions and expectations. They don't take themselves too seriously. Fans appreciate when wrestlers don't take themselves too seriously, as we know, and they feel a little bit like an outsider, and fans often relate to that.
But fans are very fickle nowadays compared to back then, where they turn on you within a fucking dime.
Yeah, look what the panel did to Cody Rhodes. Don't mention the war. But look, all messing aside, what you said, you couldn't recreate what happened. You just couldn't recreate it. The world has changed. Like you said, and you're spot on the money. The audience has changed. Wrestling has changed. And most importantly, you can't shock people today using the same things that shocked people back then, right? No. And also as well, access to the internet. It's not must-see TV and all that. So the modern version of D-Generation X, I think on paper, based on their characteristics, would work, but they'd have new boundaries to push. They'd have to push the envelope in other ways. The envelope, which is not allowed to be pushed so far, because it's too structured. It's too structured. So would it work? To be honest, I don't think so. I don't think it would get over, actually. That's being honest. Because I think
if we didn't have the PG era, it might be. If it was TV 13, maybe. But yeah, I think it was to be honest with you, DX was at a perfect time where they needed DX. The WWF needed the DX because they were at a point in time where they were sinking as a company and they're on the verge of bankruptcy. I think they were
100%.
personally. I think the likes of DX or the founding guys of the Attitude Era. They're the ones that revolutionized and helped save the WWF, I feel.
So D-Generation X, again, kind of fell into place like most things in the Attitude Era, but you think it was kind of an act of desperation, and again, a response to the NWO. So let's go ahead and tackle your question now. NWO or D-Generation X?
Even though I grew up with the DX, I love DX to bits. I love all the members of DX. I still think NWO, because without DX, so without NWO, there would be no DX.
I disagree with you. I agree with the fact that NWO, without them, there's probably no DX, but I do think objectively D-Generation X is better. Obviously, the NWO.
Oh, sorry, Brandon. I misread that. Did you mean which one was better in overall aspect? You mean?
Of course,
then it's DX. Sorry, it's DX. Jesus Christ, I misread that.
Even their team songs, break it down, and remember when Run DMC came in and did the Kings? It was incredible. They didn't have it for that long. Such a good version of the team. But also as well, you're talking, like, if you look, like, everybody was in the NWO at one stage. I was in the NWO at one stage, I think. I'm not sure. I was probably in the NWO. Everybody and their dogs, uncles, brothers, sisters, cousins, father was in the NWO.
It doesn't matter. It was like that when fucking NWO came to the WWE in 2002, when they brought back the original guys. And then obviously with the whole Scott Hall's drug issue, they had to get rid of him. And then also with Kevin Nash and his quad issues, and then obviously because they wanted to put Hulk Hogan to a different direction altogether, have him as a face. But then you know what annoyed me then, Brian, is back then is that they kept they kept NWO around, and who did they have in the NWO? Kevin Nash, HBK, Big Show, Booker T, Goldust, X-Pac.
Let's not even talk about that. Well, first of all, Goldust should have been world champ. Anyway, aside from all that, right? The NWO, the NWO, the WWE variation wasn't very good at all, right?
No, so they messed up both ways.
I do want to make something really clear, though. I love the NWO, but I started to love them at a later stage. I have their DVDs. I have most of their T-shirts. I've often been seen on Pro Wrestling Weekly in an NWO T-shirt. I love the NWO. However, true and true, heart and soul, I'm D-Generation X. Like our friend Ash here. Ash, welcome to the chat. Good to see you. Big fan of D-Generation X, as am I, and I believe D-Generation X are better on every scale. I think they had the fact that you could probably count their members on two. You could definitely count their members on two hands.
Storylines and more memorable moments.
100%, absolutely. But Ash, you're dead right. What did I miss? Well, we'll take it from the start. When you messing, Aina, you just basically missed. We were talking about would D-Generation X work? Would the original version of DX work today? And we came to the conclusion that probably not actually, because there's too many restrictions in place in the WWE at the moment, and as a result, there's too much of a structure to get through. And I don't think they'd work. On paper, the characteristics, it would be deadly, it would be good, but would they be given the right opportunity? I absolutely doubt it. NWO sucks, says Ash. I love them now, because when you look back at some of the stuff they did, it was really, really good. Eventually, they became very jarring, and in fact, the decline of the NWO was a lot worse than the decline of D-Generation X that we talked about a few seconds ago. Hi, they're having a debate whether NWO is better than DX, and that's the other thing. That's the other thing, Aina. NWO or D-Generation X. So, Aina, I'll be interested to see what you think. I know you're a bit of a wrestling historian, from what Noel was telling me anyway. But either way, I'm a D-Generation X guy. I think better matches, better stories. The fact that you can count how many members they had and you only need two hands. Whoa! Oh, man. NWO, ain't it? Very, very cool. There's no wrong or right. Like Keith said, without NWO, you don't necessarily have D-Generation X. But it's interesting. And for me, it's got to be D-Generation X. Because, again, better stories, better wrestlers. The fact that you can count all the members on two hands. Incredible. Just like the faction. Totally, ain't it? I have the NWO T-shirts. I love them. Eventually, I'm a WWF fan. I only witnessed their invasion in 2001. It was in 2001, We're actually going to cover it in the next few weeks. I think September 20th, we're going to close off the Attitude Era series talking about the invasion, Ash. So tune in and let us know what you're thinking about then. They're face on face both great, but Prime Hogan, there you go. It's a good argument. But either way, D-Generation X has its place in history. Its rightful place in history. It probably doesn't exist without the NWO, so that does deserve a shout.
Do you see China going into the Hall of Fame on her own in the next couple of years?
I would say China probably. Do you know what? I say China goes into the Hall of Fame next year, actually. And I'll tell you what my logic is. WrestleMania is going to be about nostalgia next year. This is what I'm predicting anyway. Because, because it's in Saudi. And I know the Saudi crowd that run those shows love old school wrestling. And I wouldn't be surprised if she's inducted next year. If it was me, China would have been inducted a long time ago. One of the best women wrestlers of all time. So here's hoping, Keith. Anyways, like I said, Austin had the rebellion. The Rock had the charisma. Mankind was unpredictable. The Undertaker was the goth. But D-Generation X, they were the attitude. They were the suck it. They were the two words. They were, are you ready? They were phenomenal. And that's why nearly 30 years later, we're talking about D-Generation X. 30 years and the Attitude Era. So absolutely phenomenal. And I love looking back at these. I have the DX shirt, the black and green one. It's a cracker of a DX shirt as well. I have that one as well, Ash. But I have NWO and DX. Now, before we close off, we will not be live next week. There will be no Attitude Era show next week. There will be an Attitude Era show. We will return on the 6th of September. And we will be talking about the women of the Attitude Era. So we will be talking about, like originally I said to Keith, let's talk about the divas, but they weren't necessarily the divas back then. Not really.
No.
But we're going to talk about the women of the Attitude, and we're going to have a very, very special guest as well to help us talk about it. So that's going to be really cool. The panel will be 3. We will be talking about the women of the Attitude Era. That's the 6th of September in 2 weeks. We will not be live next week for the Attitude Era. We're taking an international break. And so next week will be the international break because me and some of the panel, unfortunately not Keith, not this time anyway, we will be over for AEW All In, despite giving it a bit of a bashing during this show, more Keith than me. So international break next week, but 6th of September we'll be talking about the Attitude Era. Also as well, the SmackDown Motel. We will not be live for the SmackDown Motel, but you can expect some shorts. So yeah, let's close it out, Keith. We'll get some closing comments now in a sec. Are you Scottish? I'm English. Ash, I am born and bred in Dublin.
Ireland.
I lived in Canada for a year, but that didn't affect my accent in the slightest. But born and bred in Dublin. And the reason I bring up I lived in Canada for a year, because a lot of people ask me, was I Scottish? So there you go. But welcome anyway, Ash. Good to have you on. But the wrestling reputation, great for Shawn, but Triple H out of wrestling. I love that. Can't wait for all this. Aina, it's going to be a cracker. Let's go Wembley all the way. Aina, I understand you're going to be in Wembley. We're going to have the microphones with us. We will be doing interviews outside of Wembley for the Upper Tier channel. So we will find you. That's very Liam Neeson that was. We will find you and we will interview you. So do make sure you seek us out. It's going to be it's going to be a cracker of a show. So next week, tons of shorts. We might go live on the channel, but it'll be mostly shorts. No SmackDown show, no Motel, no Attitude Era. But in 2 weeks' time, the weekend of the 6th of September, we will return. You've been to Ireland, Ash? Well, come back and say hello. There's a wrestling shop in Stephen's Green. It's the headquarters of this podcast. It's in a shopping centre called Stephen's Green, smack down in the middle of Dublin City, third floor on Grafton Street. And get in there while you can if you do come back, Ash. So there you go. So yeah, let's wrap it up. So Keith, D-Generation X, genuinely one of my favorite things to talk about. Love it. I still have the DVDs, and I still look back on old clips, and I still look back on old promos. It's an awful shame we weren't doing a retrospective on D-Generation X, because I love what Shawn and Triple H did from 2006 onwards, how they got together against the Spirit Squad. Absolutely incredible stuff. So maybe
It's
one
fun to
day
talk.
we will
So,
revisit Degeneration X.
yeah, like to be honest with you, Brian, it's been fun chatting to you all about this episode and previous episodes as well, because it's my childhood of what, you know, growing up and watching all these things from '96 onwards, and recapping, you know, the memories I used to watch as a kid on the TV. You know yourself, you could only watch it on the day. If you missed it, you missed it. You ain't going to be watching it again. Not like a Netflix today where you can watch and repeat anytime you want.
Well, it's edited when you rewatch it. But anyways,
Well, yeah.
do join us right here in the upper tier tomorrow night. The Monday mashup is back. Niall and Mark is back. One of my favorite football shows on all of YouTube. It's going to be a cracker. That'll be at 9 o'clock tomorrow night. Pro Wrestling Weekly, realistically, is going to be on Tuesday. Might be on Wednesday, but I suspect it'll be this Tuesday. We will be live 8 o'clock. And then Thursday, Daz and Noel are back. They'll be reviewing the kits of this year. They'll be talking about the weekend ahead in football. It's going to be a cracker. And then, of course, we will be at Wembley next weekend. Keep an eye on the channel. Plenty of shorts, all of that stuff. This has been an absolute pleasure. It was lovely speaking to everybody in the chat. Great show, lads. Buzzing for all in. Hopefully we'll meet some of you at another time. Keith, Anto, I have a good feeling that we're going to see you over there. So to everybody in the chat, thank you very much. Keith, as always, man, a real pleasure. I love this look back. And like I said, we will be back live 2 weeks' time, and we'll be talking about the women of the Attitude Era. Do join us. Until then, I'll see you on the next short, as with my friend here, Keith. Good night. God bless. And if you're not down with that,
Go on, Brian,
we'll
do
see
it.
you later. No. See you later.
Do it.
No. No, Liverpool blessed to get a point today. Great stuff. So yeah, there you go. If you're not down with that 2 words, no, I'm only messing. 2 words. See you later. That's 3 words. Get up out of that. We'll see you in the next couple of weeks. All the best. Good night. God bless.